Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome in. Prax, like clockwork. Usually the first one to comment. Welcome in. My main man, Prax, or woman, or gender neutral. Hades, starting to dislike weekends because you can't trade. Yeah, I feel you. I like making money too. John, welcome in. All right, it's 6 o'clock on the dot. Let's go. Welcome to this week's watch list review with Spartan Trades. Full disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. If you're new, again, welcome in. Tonight, we're going to be reviewing my top stock picks for tomorrow. We are going to get into some charts that may have potential for tomorrow, depending on where they open. We're going to talk about some side charts to have alerts set on for the rest of the week. And then at the end, we're going to be answering any questions that you may have about other stocks in particular that are not mentioned here in the early part of this stream. So I'm currently on the daily chart time frame for /ES. This is the future that SPY follows. I will nearly always start my analysis on the daily chart to see the overall picture of the stock. All right. So what this is doing is basically giving us insight as to how the overall market is moving. Last week we had this kind of big push up. Following this continuation push down, we met some support here at the 50 EMA, which we've done previously in the past twice, once here and once here. Then we got this hammer candle formed, right, which is a potential reversal candlestick right off of the support point and off of the and just under the whole number 3,900. So we got that confirmation break over the downward trend line here, basically letting us know that that hammer candle was real. And since then we have retraced just a little bit from this move, which is, I mean, that's to be expected, right? Following a larger move up like that. So from here, basically we're looking for one thing in particular, and that's going to be a push into new all-time highs. So that all-time high level is going to be at 3978.5. And you know, we want this uptrend to be validated and to remain true. So /ES should not fall back below the $3,900 mark. All right. If it retraces the entirety of this move, then it's kind of voiding the whole breakout move to begin with, right? So we don't want to see it break below this 3,900 level. Otherwise, this is just like a big fake out move. So if we cannot make a new high over 3978.5, and if we do not break 3,900 below, we can expect to see some sideways action, right? I mean, if we want a directional market, which is pretty much what we always want, especially if you're day trading options, then we want to see new highs being made. So that's primarily what I'm looking for, is a break over 3978.5 and the continuation move from this breakout right here on Friday. So I have alerts set at the high and then alerts set at the low at 3,900. And my plan this week will be to trade around the fact that we are looking for either one of those price points to be broken. Does that make sense? Okay, so as for the main watch list, the first one is going to be, drum roll please, Facebook. You guys have been all over, well, the ones in my server have been all over it, all over this past week. And for good reason, right? It had this massive push up. We caught it at the break of this range right here. It ran all the way up to 300, rejected and came back down. That's no big deal, right? We just talked about moves that happen like this don't usually occur without some sort of retracement. So what I find interesting is that this candle right here is known as a bullish engulfing candlestick. So it's found on the daily. It's formed at the bottom of a downtrend. The body of this candle completely engulfs the body of this candle, and we're not worried about the wicks, right? So we're just looking at the body of this candle and the body of this candle. It's engulfing the other one, and it's green. So that means it's a bullish engulfing candlestick. That can signal a potential reversal. What's more is that this candlestick is being formed right around the point where the majority of this resistance was previously at. And if you're familiar with Fibonacci levels, if we drew a level from the bottom of this uptrend all the way up to the top, we see that that support's basically being held right at the 50% mark. So all of these things are telling us that a potential reversal can happen. That's what we're looking for from here. So a break over 285 tomorrow is what we'll be looking for. I'm going to move to the 5-minute chart so you can see this a little more clearly. It'll be a break over 284 or 285 depending on where we open. Either one of those trigger levels will work. Price target 1 will be right around 288 to 290, and then above that, I wouldn't be surprised to see this run all the way back up to 300. I don't know if that happens all tomorrow. I doubt that happens all tomorrow. But leading up to, if we do get that reversal, leading up to later on in the week, I wouldn't be surprised to see this test 100 or 300 one more time, and then maybe even test the highs over here around 304, 305. Okay, so a break over 284 to 285 is what we're looking for. And to the bottom side, if we broke below 278 or 277, if we broke below these lows, that's a potential short idea. But what we're primarily looking for, just given the bullish engulfing candlestick right here and the fact that it retraced pretty much back to old resistance, we are looking for this uptrend here to continue and for this dip to be bought back up, right? Yeah, Rosa said Facebook's been killing it. It has, right? And this was a really good, it was a really even good swing trading opportunity if you held through the entirety of that move. So we'll see if it can recover from here and continue back up. Remember, the price target's 288 for tomorrow, 288 to 290 if it breaks out and moves. And then after that, we can talk about maybe a price target of 295, 300. All right. The second one on the watch list for tomorrow is Snapchat. So what I'm going to do, again, starting my analysis on the daily chart time frame. The reason why I start my analysis on these larger time frames is to kind of get the overall picture of what the stock's doing. So it's lost the 50 EMA. It's been making these lower highs as well as these lower lows. So it looks like we're kind of trading in this downward channel, which we may be. But I do see this overall support right here around $48, which is why my alert is set there. But more importantly, there is a whole number right above 48, and that number is $50. So if you don't know, whole numbers like to act as natural points of support and resistance within the market. So the fact that this has pulled back to and sold off pretty aggressively to this $50 whole number, with the market kind of breaking out of this downward trend line that it was making, I'm looking for, and we're looking for, a break over 52. At least for a short-term reversal. I'm not saying that Snapchat's going to be bullish from here on out. I'm not saying that it's going to, make a new high or a higher high over $64. All that I'm looking for is a day trade over the $52 price point to confirm that bounce off of $50. All right. If I move to the 5-minute chart time frame, I put this on the watch list a couple of days in a row for the team, and this is exactly what we were looking for, So originally we were looking for a break at 51. Now we've moved it up to 52. It was a void on Friday, so the analysis still remains the same. We're still looking for a break at 52, price target of 54. But in all actuality, you only need this to move $1 to make decent profits. That's a 2% profit margin from 52 to 53. And, even if you're trading the commons or if you're trading options, that's plenty enough right there to take some sizable profits on. So a break over 52 will give us that confirmation bounce over 50 and hopefully give us that move up that we're looking for to 53 or $54. To the bottom side, a short below 50 is that's something that's doable. That's okay if you want to do that, if you want to place your short trigger there. I'm not much of a short bias trader, so anybody that's been trading with me for a while, you kind of know that. I would rather, I think, place a short at 48, just overall, kind of based on, if you look at where this resistance is at on the daily, This 48 mark seems a little more relevant than 50. So the last thing I would want you to do is take a short below 50 and then get faked out because it's not truly breaking down. But if it breaks 48, certainly this has room to come back down to probably 44 and meet some support there at the 200 EMA. So that's just the opposite side of this trade. But yeah, primarily looking for a break over 52. This will be a whole number play. This is kind of the theme. I want you guys to take note of this Snapchat play. This is kind of the theme for a lot of the analysis for this afternoon, because you're going to find a lot of stocks have pulled back kind of following the overall market and have found some level, or look like they could find or be finding some level of support at a significant point. So we're just going to call them, we'll refer to them as bottoming plays. All right, that's the theme for this week, bottom plays. Remember that. And moving along with that theme, here we have another chart for the main watch list on tomorrow. This is going to be AMD. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. This gap area at 74 has been validated as a support. So we're going to look for this 74 mark to continue to validate as a support. And what's more is this looks like a double bottom pattern. So it's shaped like a W. You'll get one bottom, the neckline push up, a second bottom, and the idea is that you get a rebound that looks something like this. It doesn't have to happen, but it is a potential play idea. So if we have that true confirmation that 74 is validated as a support, which we kind of do already with it pushing up, I think that a break over $78 will likely give us a break of this downward trend line. That will likely give us a break of this 200 EMA and will likely give us that confirmation that it is truly bouncing here off 74, and we can play this back up to the top side. As for this big extended move here that I just drew, being the double bottom pattern, as for that happening, I don't know. I'm not really a fortune teller. I never have claimed to be. So who knows if it makes this move? Maybe it only makes this move, or maybe it only makes a move like that. I don't really care. I'm only analyzing for a day trade. Okay, so keep in mind that all of my trades that I'm giving you are day trades unless otherwise noted. They're all planned day trades. So a break of 78 is what I'm looking for. Price target from here is going to be around $80. All right, so move back up to 80. So it'll be a break of 78. You see that there with a price target of 80 in mind. I think that would be a sizable profit margin if this downward trend line here can be broken. All right, back to the daily chart time frame. The last one on the main chart watch list before I get into some side charts will be Netflix. Again, another bottoming play. This one reminds me a little bit of Facebook though, where Facebook had pulled back to, let me show you. Facebook had pulled back to this 200 EMA and then started doing this chop thing where it was building this kind of tight range. Netflix isn't quite as clean, but it is a very similar setup, I feel. So we're going to disregard that little break over the 530 price point and just kind of try to encompass the majority of the price action here. This is all occurring between the $500 whole number, that's going to be your general support point, and the 530 level, that's going to be your general resistance point. So what we're looking for here is just a bounce off the bottom side of this range, meaning that $500 and the 200 EMA should validate as a support for a move back up to maybe 530. Who knows if it runs that far. I think that 520 or even 518 would be more likely at first, and then we could talk about 530. So we're basically splitting the difference, right, between about 510 and 530. We'll say 518 to 520 is our price target, but it needs to get over 510 first before we even talk about any other profit margins. That's going to be our trigger. So a break over 510 will basically be confirming for us that 500 is validating as a support, and we can look for the move top side from there. Now, as for a short trigger, I said it needs to validate 500, but we see here that twice it's dipped below 500 and kind of faked out a breakdown. So what I would do is move that trigger or that support point down below these two lows, And I would say, a break below 496 that would probably be your confirmation that this breakdown from 500 is real and it's actually coming down rather than faking out below the $500 price point. All right, so that's it. That's all that I have for the main watch list tickers. I'm going to do a quick review. We'll get into some side charts. If you're tuning in late to the stream, don't worry. This is going to be uploaded right after the stream ends, so you can go back and watch it from the beginning. The first one that we talked about was Facebook. That's going to be a reversal dip play following the $300 rejection. We're going to be looking for a play on Snapchat. We want that to hold the $50 price point, so a break over 52 should give us a play topside. AMD is pulled back to the $74 gap area, so we're looking for that gap area to validate as a support. And we want to see a break over 78. And then Netflix has pulled back to the $500 whole number, to the 200 EMA, and is trading at the bottom side of kind of this range forming here on the daily. So we want to see that validate, and a break over 510 should give us a move back up to 518 to 520. Let's talk about some side charts. While I'm doing that, feel free to post up here anything in the chat section and chat area, any stocks that you want me to review. Please no penny stocks. There's just not, they're pump and dumps. I don't trade penny stocks anyways, so I prefer not to do analysis on them. I ask that you format the review tickers like the watch list, so give me a couple of levels that you think are important, and maybe a sentence or two why the stock may have potential. Something like this would be good, or something like this are good examples to model your call out after. All right, so the first one on the side chart watch list is going to be Tesla. It's been a hard stock to kind of get a grasp on, directional wise, because it looked like it was forming this inverted head and shoulders and it was going to break out, and then it actually rejected the 50 EMA and made a new low. So for a long time we were looking for a break over 720, but in reality it really couldn't even hold over 700. And so since then it has pulled all the way back down to 600. What I've done since it started to move sideways like this is set a range between 650 and 600, and it's pretty much right in the middle of those two price points. So I don't care what Tesla does between 600 and 650, but if it breaks either one of those levels, I want to be prepared to take a trade on it. So I'm going to be long on Tesla over 650, and I'll be short on Tesla below 600. If it breaks 600, I think 550 is possible. You may see another test of this 200 EMA to the bottom side. All right, so very easy analysis there. Tesla just set alerts at 650 and 600. Don't try to guess what it's going to do. Just wait for the direction that it'll break one of those levels eventually. So wait for it to give you direction. You will have confirmation on the play, I believe, once either one of those two price points are broken, and then play it directionally from there, especially if it breaks 600. I would really be looking out for that if it breaks below. All right, the next one on the side chart watch list is Boeing. This stock was really hyped up, formed a pennant pattern here, broke down from the pennant pattern, but then got a little bit of recovery move here, bounced off the 50 EMA, and so I know you can't see it, but there's this gap area back here between 240 and 250, and that's kind of what it's trading in right now. So I don't really care if it breaks back below 240, but I do care if it breaks over 250, because that would mean that this uptrend is possibly continuing. We know that moves like this don't typically happen without some retracement move like this. So what we want to see is if this breaks over 250, or set your alert at 250 or 251. I guess 251 would probably be the better area, just to be safe. Set your alert at 251, and if it makes a new high, well, then you know it's reclaiming the uptrend. It's reclaiming the whole number at 250. It's reclaiming this gap area support point, and could be on the run back up to 270, 280. All right, so 250. Set your alerts there on Boeing. The next one is SPWR. This is a potential solar play. This This thing, I don't think it's anywhere near ready to make a move yet, but I do want to point it out. So this is like a bearish pennant or a descending triangle here forming on the daily chart, but that doesn't mean that it needs to break down or has to break down. It may even need some more time to consolidate here, but you see it's been making lower highs. So lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, but it's no longer making lower lows, right? It's kind of, if anything, kind of basing here with support around $28. So you have static support and dynamic resistance. Something's got to give once it gets to this. Usually something's got to give once it gets to the end of this triangle here. And there's nothing saying it even needs to make it to the end. So what I'm looking for is a reclaim of the 50 EMA, which is that green dotted line on the daily chart, and I'm looking for a new high to be made, a higher high and not a lower high. If we get the higher high to be made, that means that SPWR is no longer in this downtrend and could be on the uptrend. There's a gap area just below or just above the $41 price point up to 42.5. Not super significant, but still tradable. So a play over or alert set over 36 should do the trick. Your price target will be 38. Above that, I would be looking out for 40 and 41. But let's take it one step at a time. Set alerts at 36, and then we'll revisit the play if it gets there. This is one that's probably, it could go off this week, or maybe it doesn't go off this week. Who knows if there's even going to be a rotation back into solar. I'm just mentioning it so that you can set your alerts on it and forget about it. If it happens, it's a play, awesome. If not, no harm, no foul, right? Just leave that alert set. Who knows, eventually it'll go off, and maybe you'll get a play on it then. SPUX reminds me a lot of SPY, right? That kind of looks almost exactly like /ES, right? Downtrend, big breakout, SPUX, downtrend, big breakout, just below the highs. Keep your alerts set at 11234. No, I'm not making that up. That's actually the all-time highs. So set your alert there, and if it breaks and you get a move over that price point, there's certainly a trade here that's possible. It's pretty far off from that price point right now, so I kind of doubt that it gets there tomorrow, but it has potential to get there this week, especially if we see the overall market make new highs. There's a good chance that Starbucks follows it up. So 11234, have an alert set there. Look for a break of that price point for a potential play to the top side. PTON, another one that is we had this one on the watch list, so it reminded me of Snapchat, but the shape here reminds me of SPWR, where it is also making lower highs, but the difference is this one's finding support at the $100 whole number, which, look, it's like a mirror image right here. So we had an ascending triangle breakout at 100, a pullback to test it as support and then go, and now we have a descending triangle here forming at 100. So who knows? It could break down from here. It could break out from here. We're prepared for either one. So I have an alert set right there at the low below this wick. That's going to be at $94 or so. And then I have another alert set at 110 and another one set at 115. Last week, I gave you guys this chart, and I said a break over 115 looked bullish for the move up. So it did break, but the candle never closed over 115, and then it pulled all the way back to 100. So we were able to take a play on this over 104, but the spreads on the option chain, they are not favorable. And so that was my mistake. To all the traders in my server, that was my fault for even putting this on the watch list. The bid and the ask spread were kind of wide. They weren't that wide when I initially looked at it, and then, by the market open, they widened up, and it just wasn't something that probably should have made the watch list given the spreads. However, the setup still looks nice. I still like this setup. So keep your alerts set at 110, and I think your confirmation move is going to be over 115 if it can get there for a break of this kind of descending triangle pattern. Remember, this is a bearish pattern, but just because a pattern is bearish doesn't mean it has to break down. And the other is true too. Like, just because a pattern is bullish doesn't mean it has to break out. So we're just hanging out. We're gonna wait and see what this does. If it breaks 100, we know to short. If it breaks 110 or 115, we'll be looking to probably take it long. Okay, so the theme this week is bottom plays. Look, did you happen to notice that theme? Look at AMD. Pulled back to 74, could be bouncing, right? Netflix pulled back to 500, could be bouncing. What was the other one? PTON pulled back to 100, is kind of starting to bounce here. Snapchat pulled back to 50, could be bouncing. What's another one? Oh, we didn't talk about this one. SQ has pulled back to 200, so we'll draw a trend line there. Understanding old resistance can become new support. Look, support, 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 support. Bounces again right there at support. It's another bottom play. So from here, we'd just be we caught this on the short below 220 for the move down, and then didn't play it back off 200. That probably was a gimme play right there. But yeah, I mean, if it gets back over 220, it's then into this range again. I have alerts set at 220 and 220. What is this? 220, 227, and then 230. I think I really like it over 230 because it'd be reclaiming that 50 EMA. But certainly there's a trade here over the $220 price point, especially if it continues to validate 200 as a support. So you're seeing a lot of these similar setups in the market. These bottoming plays, they're just something to keep an eye on. I have 3 plays for you, and I never do this, but I have 3 plays for you that look like potential swing ideas. I've mentioned a couple of them previously, but I mean they're still continuing to look good. So I'm going to re-mention them, and if you like the play, maybe do your own due diligence and look into it and consider a position. But I'm going to just put them out for you. So these are swing ideas that I've been looking at and eyeing for quite some time. So one of them is on snow. It's pulled back to 200. We initially took a swing trade on snow when it broke 300, and it ran up and then came all the way down, right? And so I don't know if anybody is holding the position. I wound up cutting it whenever it broke 300, and so I've been looking for this re-entry to see when would be a good time to enter. Maybe down here at 200 would have been ideal, but now it's starting to push back up. So we got a break of this downward trend line pushing up to like 235 area. It's pretty close to the lows here, right? You see that? So this may be one that you want to keep an eye on. Additionally, you have the MACD. Here, let me show you. Recently oversold RSI, and then you're getting a MACD cross right there. So that could also be a couple of extra confirmation factors for you. The other one is U. We've talked about this one. I believe a couple of the members in the server have put this out as a potential swing play. And that was like around this area when it was really still selling off. But now it seems to have found a bottom, bounced, found a bottom again at 90. And what do we have here? The same look that we have on AMD, right? With a potential double bottom right there. So I think that a break over 100 should be confirmation that it's kind of moving back up. If you enter the trade, you could put a stop at 90 and identify some price target up ahead where you want to take your profits on. Anything over like a 2-to-1 is good for a profit margin. And the other one is FIVE, F-I-V-E. So this one is forming one of my favorite patterns. This is an ascending triangle. It's also forming this pattern at the all-time highs, and it's forming this pattern at the $200 whole number. A lot of consolidation here in this area has already reported. So, who knows where it goes from here. It doesn't have to break out, but I have an alert set at 205 just in case if it does. So again, another swing play idea. There's a few ways you can enter it. You can try to enter down here around like 190 if it pulls back to that price point. You can try to enter at 200 with a stop, at 195 or whatever. Or you could just wait for it to break 205 and enter up there and place a stop at 200. However you want to do it. But this looks primed and ready to go. If this stock had a better option chain, this would 100% be on my watch list for tomorrow. This is the type of breakout primed and ready setup that I would want to trade. And even if it didn't break out tomorrow, like it would probably make my watch list until it broke out. Cool. Yeah. So those are the Snow, FIVE, and U, all potential swing trade ideas. Do your own due diligence though, right? Don't take my word for it. Make sure you're looking into these stocks on your own. Okay. All right, let's get into some side charts. Thank you all for your time. I'm gonna talk about some stocks that you've been mentioning. So let's go to the top of the list. Connor, what's up? If I pronounce your name wrong here, I'll just say your last name, Mosqueda. What's going on? John, no tomatoes to make. Okay, here we go. Target for a continuation play into all-time highs at 200 or 205, depending on how we open. Yeah, so look, Target's one of those stocks that aren't, is not really day traded. The option chain here isn't that great, and it's been super hot lately. So it has made somewhat of a parabolic move up to all the way from 170 area to 200, and it doesn't typically, well, I don't want to say typically, but it doesn't make that move, right, without some sort of retracement following. So I would just be careful. Like, don't chase this up here. Yes, retail is hot right now. So we saw that on Target. We see a big move on Costco. We even see Walmart kind of shaping up right here at the bottom. This one may actually be, that one may actually be breaking out too. I'm going to set an alert there at 136.5. So here's my issue with Target. I just don't see this move sustaining without some sort of retracement first. I wouldn't chase it up here. If you're trying to day trade it, that's one thing, but I wouldn't be buying up here to hold for any super long extended period of time. I would really be looking for a dip, and then I'd honestly like to see some consolidation, or even if it breaks 200, to hold 200 for some time and then move, right? It needs to build a base before continuing up. I'm not sure where you got the 205 level from. You don't really need to wait for it to get all the way up to 205 to take a trade. If you're looking for a day trade, a move simply over the highs at like 201 should be okay, or even 201.5 to play it safe should be okay. But again, just know that that's a pretty extended move. Look at the RSI, right? That'll tell you all that you really need to know. The RSI doesn't matter in a trend that's parabolic, and this looks very strong. But just be careful of this happening, right? You don't want to be caught up in the retracement down. That's why this one didn't make my list. So yes, it is an all-time high, which is a play that I look for, but no, it's not one that it doesn't look appealing to me, just because I feel like a pullback is more likely than a continuation at this point. I like Facebook too. Which call option would you buy Monday morning? I don't know. Don't know yet. Whichever one has the best spread. Something right at the money. That's usually what I look for. Amazon, a bounce at the 3,000 area. Hammer candle on Friday, possible reversal. Need to break SMA 200. Do you see any pattern formation on it? Amazon's been like it reminds me of, this is tough to read. This reminds me of Microsoft, because it's very choppy. It's kind of ugly, and I almost want to say that is a bear flag formation, but it's not entirely true, because the overall trend is up, right? It's still over the 50 EMA, the 50 EMA. It's still over the 200 EMA. So to call this a bear flag, I don't know if that's completely accurate, but it is very choppy in this entire area. And so I see that same thing with Amazon, right? So like I don't want to say that that's a bear flag, but it is trading below the 50, but it's still over the 200. I see the hammer candle that you're talking about, and that did come off of the 200 EMA and off of the $3,000 price point. So yes, there is a potential reversal here, but I don't, as far as like any pattern formation for tomorrow that I see, I don't really see anything shaping up other than kind of like this. We'll just call it an upward channel. And at this point, I'm only drawing this bottom trend line basically off of, 2 points, and that's not entirely accurate. It could look something like that, right? Remember that patterns and trend lines can be subjective. So like that's why these diagonal lines are somewhat dangerous. You're probably better off just looking at, a horizontal line of support, or just using the EMA as a support point. How do I find these stocks to trade, and what's my overall strategy? Okay, within my Discord server, you're going to go to the watchlist training channel. There you will find a 3-hour training program designed to help you trade my watchlist. It has 10 rules, and if you follow those rules with ultimate discipline, you should be able to make some decent money on my watchlist. That will teach you my strategy. How do I find these stocks? I use the old-fashioned go through a list of 100 plus stocks and look for things. I have a very specific set criteria that I look for, but I really try to focus on stocks that have breakout potential. So I like the high beta name stocks with breakout potential, and again, I'm looking for like a certain set of criteria that these stocks have to meet. And it's not all based on charts, right? Sometimes it's based on the option chain. So again, a setup like 5, which has an amazing chart, I would not look at this for a day trade because the option chain doesn't look that great. So something like this, I might consider a swing trade on rather than a day trade, and I might just buy shares as opposed to trading options. Does that make sense? But yeah, if you want to learn about how I find these stocks, shoot me a message in Discord. I'm actually running a class right now where I teach you my entire routine for going through these stocks. It takes about a week to teach it, and the first class is 2 hours long. I mean, it's super in-depth, and I can't go over all of that here in this live stream. But if you shoot me a message about it, I'm more than happy to get you in whenever I run a class next. Let's see, who's the next person here? I just kind of skipped down. Disney, above the 50 and the 200, I think it can get back to 190. So this one, I don't know what it's going to do, because it's trading right at, so it's bounced previously off the 50 EMA, right? You are correct about that. But I don't know where it goes from here. So what's interesting about support points like this is that they can do one of two things. Really, I guess one of three things. I don't want to lie to you. They can either bounce or they could break down, right? That's typically what happens. Sometimes you'll see consolidation at this area, but this is usually what you'll get, either a breakdown or a breakout. And what do you have here percentage-wise on direction? You got a 50-50 shot. I mean, it could go either way. With it trading right at a support point like this, we don't know where it's going to go from here, and it's not showing us its cards entirely because it looked like it wanted to bounce, but then kind of got rejected and came back down. So this is not something I would consider like a high probability setup or a trade. I think there are better setups out there. If you're looking for a day trade, I think there are better setups out there than trying to look for a bounce on this right here. But if we're going off of your analysis, you think it can get to 190? Maybe. Yeah, I would agree that is the resistance point. So long as it validates this 50 EMA area as a support. Let me move to the 5-minute. Yeah, I mean, so long as it validates this kind of area as a support, the 50 EMA around 184, 183, I think that 190 is the logical resistance point. In fact, 189 is a little more relevant, but 190 is not far off. So yeah, potentially can get back there. I just don't think that this is telling, it's not showing us its cards yet. I would prefer to see maybe one green candle where it's trading right at 190, and then we could make a case that it looks like it's going to break out, like how SPY and Starbucks did, right? Is the Costco run-up done at... Oh, wait, I skipped one. When I'm looking at technical analysis for day trading, how far do you normally go back as far as charting support and resistance points? I go back as far as I need to. So typically, if I'm on the daily chart time frame, what you're given here, the 52-week chart, I mean, that's enough for me to usually see support and resistance points, to answer your question. So I don't normally need to go back any further than this. But if I was looking at a chart like MU or Actually, we'll pull up CSCO. If I'm looking at a chart like CSCO and you're not familiar with this chart, you would argue that that's all-time highs, correct? Right? But it's not. So we need to say, well, above this price point, where is our next level of resistance? Because we need to identify, if we take this long over this level, what's our profit margin to the top side? So we need to back this up to the weekly chart, and then we see, okay, well, there is like this rising wedge pattern right here, and it broke down from that. So certainly this level up here at 58 is a resistance point. And if we're looking at this price action, where's our resistance point from right here? Well, we see resistance there at 52, but it's already broken and reclaimed that level. So above 52, what's our next point of resistance? That's going to be around $54, right? So that's as far back as I need to go to see the most relevant point of resistance from here. But what if we're trading at 58? Well, then I need to know where the next level of resistance is from 58. So I may back this up from 3 years to the max available. I may say I want to see everything, right? What's our next major level of resistance above 58? Is that $60 where this is consolidating? Above 60, what's our next resistance point? Is that 70? Above 7, you know what I mean? So like I go back as far as I need to. If I got enough daily chart information, like on Netflix, I don't need to go back to the weekly chart to see where we're trading at. I don't care if we're trading right here at $500, I don't care that we have support down here at 450. That's not relevant to where we're at, right? I care about the most relevant support and resistance point to where we are currently trading at this present moment in time. Good question. Thanks for asking that. I'm sure a lot of people probably wondered that as well. So go back as far as you need to. There's nothing that, if you have enough information here, you don't need to necessarily go back to the weekly or the monthly. But sometimes you can see bigger me on the larger time frames. So it may be beneficial to check those out every once in a while. Let me go. I'm gonna go one step further. For example, on Facebook, if we go to the weekly chart time, let me back this up actually. If we change this to the monthly chart time frame, what do you see here? Do you see a big bull pennant pattern and a breakout? Does that justify this move up to 300? And then we go back into the daily. Now do you see that? You wouldn't really recognize that on the daily, would you? Unless you have eagle eyes. But the monthly or the weekly, it may make it easier for you to see what's going on. The larger, that's why I start these larger time frames, so you get the overall picture of what's going on. You can see trades a little easier. But one thing to do is, one thing to make sure that you're doing is to analyze a chart on the time frame that you plan to trade it on. So if you're planning to hold stocks for, an entire day, you may want to look at the hourly chart or the 4-hour chart for analysis. If you're planning on holding the stocks holding your position for less than 30 minutes or 20 minutes, then you may only need to look at the 5-minute chart and the 1-minute chart. If you hold for 2 hours, you may want to look at the 15-minute chart or the 30-minute. It's up to you. Just make sure you're trying to analyze on the chart on the time frame that you plan to trade on. EBON was in our swing chat Friday, looking like it's holding the upward trend line of support. Yeah, I haven't looked at this one in a while. It's tough to say. I would be concerned about that right there, earnings. So it doesn't matter really any technical analysis that we do on this because it has earnings. So I'm not gonna go in depth here because on earnings you typically will get a move like that, like a drastic move one way or the other, which means that any analysis that you do from here, it's just likely not going to matter. Remember, fundamentals always take precedence over technicals. So because earnings is coming up, I'm not going to do any. I'm not going to really do any analysis there. But yeah, that's some crazy moves, man. What is that percentage wise? That's a big swing, like 45% both ways. Not once, but twice. Actually, more than that, like 3 times has done something like that. That's pretty wild. And be careful if you're in that. Vuzi, oh man, you guys are charting it up here. Okay, let's see. Vuzi, VUZI, gapped down a few days ago, started trending back up on Friday, forming a bullish flag. Are you sure it's a bullish flag? Yeah, okay, I see. I don't see a gap down, by the way. Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about. So from here to here. But on the daily chart, it's not, like, there's not a gap there. This actually looks like a healthy chart. It's moving pretty quick, but it looks healthy to me. Like, I see it was down here at like $4 and it's trading at 30. But I mean, you have like ups and downs and ups and downs. It doesn't look anything like that chart that we just looked at, where EBON is like way up and then way down. You know, it's like you have nice ebb and flow here, up and down, up and down, up and down. And so, yeah, arguably we're on the down portion and could be basing for the next leg up. So what's your question here? Gapped down a few days ago. It's starting trending up on Friday, so forming a bull flag. Yeah, okay, so if you are bullish on the stock and you believe that this is a bull flag, which it very well could be, right, if you're taking into consideration all that price action there, then what are you looking for, right? You're looking for a break of the bull flag. So it's interesting that all of this volume came in here. Let me see the 5-minute chart. Yeah, what was that? That was probably, what happened? Some news dropped on it or something that pushed it up, and it pulled back and pushed back up. So I would be curious. I would look into whatever that caused that spike, that news, and then I would see from there if that news is something that will keep this up and afloat and continue to push it up from here. So maybe a break over like 25 would do the trick. Extra confirmation would be a break over 27, but I think you'd be all right with a play over 25. JMIA, we haven't talked about this one in a while. It's on the downside, watching for the break of 32. Has been a previous level of support 3 times. So you think if it breaks 32, we could see some more downside. Let's look. I agree, 100%. So 32, we're going to draw a support line there. And see, is it relevant here? Yes. Yes, it's relevant there. Is it relevant there? Yeah. And then back here, I mean, it gets a little hazy back there for sure. But I would keep an eye out for maybe $30 below. That's so a stock trading at this price point, we know what to be true. Whole numbers act as natural points of support and resistance, correct? Usually I'm talking about the usually I'm talking about the $50 level, the $100 level, 150, 200, 400, 500, 600, all the way up, you know, counting by 50s and 100s. But a stock trading this cheaply, every $10 is a likely whole number and support and resistance. So while the you see the support here at 32 on the daily, yes, that's true. You also have the 200 EMA at 31, and then you have a whole number 30 just below that as well. So I think for a true breakdown to be happening, you would want to be looking for a break below 30, but that doesn't mean that you can't take a short position as a day trade below 32, because what's also great about a stock price this cheaply is that you only need a $1 move to make 2%, to make 3%, right? So from 31 to 32 is a 3% move. That's plenty enough to take profits on. So, you know, trade it how you want, but I would keep in mind that below 32, every dollar down to 30 is a likely support. That's going to be 31 and 30. SQ, yes, we talked about that one. Baba bounced off. I would be careful with the Chinese names right now. Baba does this weird thing where it's been like gapping up and then not doing anything, or like gapping down and not doing anything, or like gapping down and recovering. This is really, really hard to read right now. And with all that news going on with the Chinese stocks, I would be very cautious trading any Chinese names right now. Best stocks to buy this week? Yeah, wait until if you're tuning in late to the stream, we've already gone over a lot of my watch list. Actually, we've gone over my entire watch list. So I would watch this stream back over from the beginning as soon as I finish up. And that's going to be right after I finish these next few names here. So let's do 3 more. We're going to do PLTR, we'll do Roku, and we'll do Microsoft. And then after that, we'll call it a night here. So PLTR. Yeah, so you were asking, could this be a bottom play too? Sure, yeah, it definitely can, right? It's pulled back to anything that looks like this, where it's sold off, bounced, and sold off again. Like that's likely a bottom play that's looking like it's following SPY. So support's around 22, but the 200 EMA is down here at $20. That's going to also be what? Dun, 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 a whole number, right? We talked about it. So a break over 24 would be a likely break of this downward trend line, but I don't really see a play here until it can reclaim that 50 EMA at 26. And then even then, it only has a little bit of profit margin to get back up to this neckline around $28. That's looking like a double bottom, correct? So a break of 28 would really be back into bullish territory. You have this little gap right here that could also be filled at some point or the other. But there's a lot of levels it needs to get over before it even gets to that price point. So a move over 24 is possible, but I would probably wait for a break of 26 for an extra confirmation. Let's see, the other two, Roku. Okay, so Roku and then Microsoft. Roku's another bottoming play. Look, it's pulled all the way back to the 200 EMA, and it happens to be the $300 whole number. The only thing I don't like about Roku right now is that I still feel like it's, I mean, I love Roku long term, but I still feel like it's a little overvalued. But it is still trading over the 200 EMA, which means it's still in an uptrend. It's just on a strong downtrend at the current moment. So I would look for 300 to continue to validate as a support. So long as that holds true, a break over, what'd you say? Oh, you didn't give me any levels here. A break over 320 or 324, you know, basically where this peak is at, it may have potential to make a reversal move there. So this is where my alert's set, 322.5, and you can see why, right, based on the 5-day, 5-minute. But it needs to continue to hold 300. Obviously, if it doesn't hold that price point, then that's no good. You know, then it would be breaking below the whole number there and may have potential to come down to this 200 EMA. Microsoft. All right, so this one, I referred to this earlier as something that looked like Amazon, where it was very choppy, hard to identify what it's doing from here. I was arguing that this is a bear flag, but it's holding over the 50 EMA, which means overall, I mean, it is still bullish and still in an uptrend. So because I can't identify what it's doing right here, what I've done is drawn a static level of resistance at 240. So it's taking into account this price action here. We know that old support can validate as new resistance. And since we know that to be true, I think a break over 240 is going to give us a move up to maybe, you know, 244, 245, maybe even 246 area. So for that reason, I'm patiently waiting for a break of 240 before I decide to take any plays on this. It's just really hard to tell where it's going to go from here. I mean, you see all the chop, right? So how can we analyze this with conviction? We really can't, right? I mean, it could push up, reject, come down, but until it breaks 240, I don't see any play here necessarily. Honestly, you may even be able to take a break over 238 because none of these daily candles none of the bodies of these candles, right, and none of them have closed over 238. So even if it pushed up and then got a candle to close up here, you may have a trade for the next day. And I think that's probably what we'll look for as well. So a break over 238 and a daily candle to close over would surely give us a move to 240 the following day and potentially a break over and run. But we'll see what happens. Guys, thank you for your time. I appreciate your questions. I don't have time to go over all of them, so if I didn't get to your question, you know, shoot me a DM. I'm always really good about answering all of my messages, so I'll answer you there if you want me to break anything down. Keep an eye out for the exact trigger levels on these stocks being posted on the watch list tomorrow morning. So the levels that I gave tonight, you know, they're only guidance levels. They are likely to change and subject to change by the morning. So, you know, don't come to me tomorrow and be like, oh yeah, your levels were way off. Well, look, you need to know how to adjust your trigger levels in the morning. following the overnight moves. And if you don't know how to do that, again, talk to me and I'll teach you how. I do appreciate your time. Let's make some money this week. We absolutely killed it last week. I'm looking for another green week from everybody. Keep at it with the discipline in the server and keep at it with the focus on the watch list. You guys have been doing awesome so far. And, I don't see any reason why we can't continue this. So long as the market continues to cooperate with us, I think we're going to be doing all right. Okay, so I will see you all in the morning. Take care. Shoot me a message if I didn't get to your stock. And have a good one.